My name is Doug Heinzen. I'm the North America Marketing Manager for the RTS Intercoms and Telex Radio Dispatch products. I will be the moderator today, and I will be watching the comments section to see if there are any concerns during the presentation. Sean Anderson, our Application Design Manager, will be taking you through the ODIN OMNEO Digital Intercom. After that, Greg Compagnon, our North America Sales Director for RTS and Telex Radio Dispatch, will take you through some of the RTS and Bosch information. And following that, Amaury Ramos, our Global Training and Knowledge Manager, will take you through the new platforms that we have for doing our training. Next, I'd like to tell everyone this is being recorded, and we will answer questions at the end of Sean's portion of the presentation concerning ODIN, and again we'll be looking for questions after Amaury has finished with the training section. So we'll have two sections of time where we can ask and respond to questions from the group. So we will be looking at the questions as they come in, and we'll make sure we get to all of them as we can. To put the questions in, just click on the chat button and write the question in the window, and we can go from there. So this spring showcase, this has been a series of 4 seminars. Today is the third of the 4 that we're doing. It's on the OMNEO Digital Intercom. And the next thing we're going to do is there's ODIN, then there's the business, then training. And next after that, we will be presenting Sean Anderson. And here's a quick bio of his. And his deep dive will be ODIN, and Sean has been with Telex since January of '91. He's had a lot of different jobs here, but most of you, if you've done any work with RTS and of any kind, you've run into Sean at some point during the time. He is admittedly the most in-depth, knowledgeable person of the RTS product line we have, and so we're very fortunate to have him doing the presentation for ODIN today. So with that, Sean, the floor is yours.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for attending section 3 of our webinar for our spring showcase here. We'll cover a few different topics today through PowerPoint and some live video feed here. The first topic that I would like to cover with you is the ODIN Digital Matrix. The ODIN Matrix, we came out with the ODIN about 2 years ago. The ODIN Matrix is built upon OMNEO. It is a 1RU box that is scalable from 16 to 128 ports within a single 1RU box. Now, you can interconnect up to 8 ODINs together via fiber to give you up to 1,024 ports non-blocking. We'll walk you through some of the connectors and controls available on the front and rear panel. Starting with the front panel here, we have what's called a management port. This is a secondary AZ edit session. The primary is on the rear. We put one on the front basically for the mobile trucks. If you've ever worked a truck, it's next to impossible to get to the rear of the unit if you're in a hurry. So we added an additional connector onto the front of it. We also have status indication for things like active or standby or any fault indications that may pop up in operation. Now, in the center of the front panel is a full color TFT display. There are rotary encoders on the left and right side of this display for navigating through the menu structure. Just to the right of that is the keypad. This is for things like adding in alphanumerics, adding in IP addresses. ODIN is unique in that about 95% of what you can do through the AZ Edit configuration software, you can actually do through the front panel of ODIN as well. So we've taken a slightly different approach in allowing a local configuration ability as well. And then on to the far right here, we have redundant power supplies. Each supply has its own on-off switch so that if there is an issue with a supply, you can physically isolate it so that it cannot produce noise or any other strange artifacts in your audio. So we actually have manual cutoff switches for each of those supplies. And those coincide with the 2 power connectors you see on the left on the rear view. So each one is its own power cord. The unit operates from 100 to 240 volts, so universal switching supplies. As we move to the right on the rear panel, we provide 16 RJ45 connections for analog input outputs. These also support our legacy key panels as well. As you continue to move to the right, we have 2 XLRs for our party line systems. There's an A and B channel. Each of those are configurable between the RTS, AudioCom, and third-party party line providers, so very flexible and configured via the software. The next connector here is the GPIO. We provide 4 physical relays for external control and 4 opto-isolated inputs that let you control external equipment, on-air lighting, any number of different things that you want to control via the matrix system. The next connection here is for our peripheral panels and auxiliary panels, things like the PAP, Program Assigned Panel for IFBs, LCP level control panels, and GPIO 16. If you need additional relays beyond the 4 local ones, you can add a 16 relay device called GPIO 16, and this supports up to 15 of those as well for 256 relays total. The group of 4 connectors there, referred to as IFL, which stands for interframe link. These are the SFP fiber slots where you can use either multi-mode or single-mode fiber to interconnect your different ODINs to create larger and larger systems. There is a primary and a secondary, as this is a redundant connection scenario, and I'll go into a little more detail in some subsequent slides. We have connection for control, which is AZ edit. Just below that is an RVON connection. We do support RVON within the ODIN up to 16 channels per frame. And we have this on a separate connector, which is isolated internally because typically RVON goes outside your facility, so it has to go outside the firewall. We've constructed this in a way that there is no way to bridge RVON into the other connections, so it does provide you with a secure outside connection for remoting key panels, or if you're doing RVON tie lines to other systems. So it has been put on its own dedicated connection with its own IP and its own MAC address. The next connection is typical BNC for word clock input. If you do want to sync to house clock for your analog connections. And then we get into the OMNEO connections. There are 4 connectors related to OMNEO, 2 RJ45s, and 2 SFP fiber slots. Again, multi-mode and single mode are both supported. And yes, so you have a primary and a secondary connection. Now, with that said, ODIN does support glitch-free. So that's why there is a primary and a secondary for any glitch-free device applications that you would be looking for. So as we transition to the next slide, we've done a complete redo on the way that we present things, and this is something that we have carried forward into other products, but ODIN was the first time when we went into icon-based menus. This was done because most people are dealing with or are very comfortable working with smart devices, be it tablets, phones, Windows, Mac. Everything is an icon-driven menu structure nowadays. So we modified and enhanced this with icon-driven menus. As you can see here, there are 4 tiles in different colors, and as you enter each of those menus, the top bar where you see status is actually the color of the menu you're in. So a couple of typical use cases. The very first one here is just a very basic key panel scenario where you've got a combination of analog panels on the bottom. These could be things like KP32s, KP12s, all the way back to the KP96-7. One thing we pride ourselves in is backwards compatibility. ODIN adheres to that philosophy, and that we can actually connect to original McCurdy panels. The 2 panels on the top, those are OMNEO panels, part of our new KP series line. Well, I wouldn't say new, but it's been around for a bit, and we'll go into those in more depth as well. So ODIN provides a variety of connection methods. In the second use case here, we talk a little bit about ROAMEO. ROAMEO is our digital wireless key panel. We'll go into more depth into it as well, but since it is OMNEO based, fully supported by the ODIN, and can be configured in the same way as a key panel. Now, with our OMNEO product, you can see in the blue lines here, we can create RSTP self-healing loops, or we can do spoke and hub configurations. As we get farther into the year, we will actually support the 2022-7 redundancy as well, as we migrate into the 2110 support as the year progresses. And the third use case here, this is a mixed system. So it's showing a mixture of analog panels on the bottom, the OMNEO panels in the blue lines, as well as two-wire in the purple, which is our traditional party line systems. I think most people are familiar with the BP325. And then towards the top is actually another interface known as the OEI2, which is an OMNEO to external interface. It's for bringing analog sources into the OMNEO network. It can be used for key panels, can be used for any number of analog devices. So a simple 2-channel device, which again can extend your OMNEO capability out to any legacy analog devices that your truck or facility may have. And lastly, I had mentioned RVON. ODIN does support 16 channels of RVON per frame. So if you do 2 ODINs, you get 32 channels of RVON, 3, 4, so on, 16 per frame. This is actually a processing limitation. That's the most you can get out of it, but just so you're aware. And this can be connected to key panels with either all of our RVON daughter cards or any of the KP series key panels that are running the RVON client image. We can simply reflash these and they become an RVON panel, and you can extend these off your ODIN via a public internet with the use of VPN devices. You can also use this RVON for tie lines into other matrices if you're using this for trunking. So just another way to transport audio. The way to think about this is OMNEO is typically for a LAN application, whereas RVON is for long distance and public internet. Now, to go into a little more depth on the IFL, as I've mentioned, there is a primary and a secondary link. Each one of these links handles 256 channels between frame to frame. They can be either single mode or multi-mode. We have a few different redundancy scenarios, which I'll cover on the next slide here, that will provide you any level of security as far as what you're comfortable with in the redundancy of the links themselves. So on the far left here, we show just a simple connection between frame to frame. This is a non-redundant scenario. If we go to the 2A scenario here, this is a ring. So any break, it will do a turnaround and will take the alternate path of the ring. The third scenario here is just a double straight line going from frame to frame. So if you had an issue with the first line of fibers, it would revert to the second line of fibers. And then on the fourth is actually a double redundant ring. So it just depends, again, on what level of redundancy you're comfortable with. Really all it is just adding SFP fiber modules to the back of the ODINs, depending on which scenario you wish to go with. So now the SFPs are sold separately. They do not come with the ODIN itself. We looked at it, and a lot of people are more comfortable with the RJ45 Ethernet connections. So, and with the, a lot of people are running single frame ODINs. So the SFPs are a separate orderable item and are actually a standard catalog item, so they can be easily obtained. Okay, the next piece here that I want to touch on is the KP series key panels. The KP series key panels have been out for almost about 4 years now. These are a complete family of panels that we have come out to replace the collection of different legacy panels. One of the big features within the KP series is they have a unified user interface in that all panels operate exactly the same. Over the years, if you've bought different panels from us, the panels will vary in color, in functionality. Some had keypad operations, others worked off encoders. We've unified the entire line now so that whether it's a desktop, a 1RU, 2RU, every single panel operates the same. So you don't have to remember or learn a new interface depending on the flavor of panel you walk up to. All of these operate exactly the same, and almost all of them have the exact same connectors on the back, which I'll go through in a few more slides here. So again, a totally unified look, feel, operation to make the learning curve simpler, and that you as the end user can be comfortable walking up to any of these panels and know that you know how to operate it. Okay, now all of our KP series panels, with the exception of the one very, very low cost panel, have OMNEO native on board. They support analog and OMNEO both. We made it very easy, so depending on if you're running an analog system, this already gives you the tools to migrate to an IP solution once it fits your business plan. So it doesn't cost anything extra, it's all included with it, and it actually saves time and money in the long run for you as the end user. Now, OMNEO, as you can see here in the far right, OMNEO is based on Dante. So when I say OMNEO, OMNEO is Dante audio with what is known as OCA, which is the Open Control Architecture. This is what some refer to as the secret sauce we put on top of Dante, or we basically put Dante on steroids. We put all the control elements, discovery elements and things on top of that, and that is what evolved into OMNEO. Now, some of the other things that the KP series brings to you is a lot of audio performance features, feedback suppressors. We've got automatic gain control, acoustical echo cancellation. We have a large range of DSP functions, compressor limiters, noise filters, gating, also 5-band equalization on all inputs and outputs. We have mixing capability in the DSP, and we allow for metering. So if you're comfortable or wish to see a simulation of a VU meter, you can actually display that on your key panel display, and just to give you a relative idea of audio level, or to just double check that audio is going out or into the panel as expected. So these are features that have been added into the new panels and are standard across the entire portfolio. Okay, to go into depth here a little bit on the KP32, the KP32 is the 2RU 32 key device. It has high resolution TFT color displays. It has 4 position controllers as far as talk, listen, and left and right are volume adjust on a key by key basis. So if you have a particular key where a user's really loud, you can turn them down. The next key might be soft, you can turn that key up. These are local volume adjustments to this panel only, so it's more of a personal setting rather than a globally adjusted volume. Now, as we work our way to the right here, we've redesigned the keycaps from when we did the KP32 CLD, make them a little more ergonomic, quite a bit more strength. If you put a lot of pressure on it, this key does very well, holds up very well. It's very resilient. Now we have 2 volume controls towards the right. We've got the aux and scroll, menu scroll function on the top volume knob. And as you can see in the bottom knob, that is your main volume. Now, both of these are encoders, so if you push the button in, you can actually change menus. Like for the volume, you can switch between headset volume and speaker volume, or your main volume of your matrix itself. Now, all of the panels can be ordered either in 5-pin, 4-pin, male or female, depending on the type of facility and headset you're using. So we can do 3 different complements of headset type connectors. We've repositioned the speaker from the previous model. The RP1000 had the speaker in the center. It made it kind of broke up the display and was kind of inconsistent, so we've moved that off to the side. The panel microphone is on the far left, so we've separated these to again reduce on acoustical feedback, but we have acoustical feedback suppression built into it. So you can literally take the panel mic and put it right on the speaker and it will not squeal. Now for the rear panel of the unit, we have standardized all of our panels and the hardware they come with. So there's no longer the 87 different hardware options that you have to try and decipher and make sure you order the right part. Every single panel comes with all the connectors standard. We don't do option kits anymore. Everything comes with everything you need. So as we work from the left here, you've got your power connector, and it is a locking connector. That was a request from the mobile truck industry. We've got a set of Phoenix contacts if you want to put an external speaker onto this, like a monitor. We have 2 physical analog aux inputs. If you want, you can actually turn these off and do the aux inputs via IP as well. An auxiliary rear headset. We also have an external mic. If you want to remote the mic to a different location rather than using the front panel mic, say if you have a very deep desk, you can use this to remote the panel mic closer to you rather than having to shout at the panel. So line out and mic out. This is for things like hot mic. You can feed this to a hot mic system, which some customers prefer to use as well for other applications. We have 2 RJ45s in the center, which is the traditional frame connection for analog connections, and the expansion connector to go to expansion panels. There are a couple of local relay connections and GPI inputs if you want to use things like foot switches, which some people do like. As well as opto-coupled inputs for different functionality and local control. And then as we get to the far right here, these are the OMNEO connections, or if you're running an RVON image, you would use the same connector for RVON. So we've got 2 RJ45s and an SFP fiber cage. Now, with these RJ45s, if you are doing some temporary ad hoc installations, say a sporting event like a Super Bowl or other things, you do have the ability to loop from one panel, come to the first panel with a single connection, and you can loop to additional panels to reduce the number of home runs. We suggest you do not take it over 7 devices because that is where you start running into processing limitations. And then, yeah, so we recommend no more than 7 devices be looped together. Now, the next one here is the KP4016. This is simply a 1RU version of the same type of panel I just showed you. Again, full color TFT displays, full keypad, exact same volume control with the aux and the master volume. Same headset support, speaker. It's the exact same look, feel, and interface as the 2RU panel. And again, rear panel, identical. As I mentioned, everything comes standard on the 1RU and 2RU panels. So you don't have to guess what options it has if you're having to replace a panel. Every panel you walk up with is going to have the exact same connectors as the one you're replacing. Now, if 16 or 32 keys is not enough. We have a expansion panel. This is the EKP 4016. Again, same look, feel, full color TFT displays, 16 keys with up is listen, down is talk, left and right is volume control. You can put up to 6 additional expansion panels on the 5032 and up to 7 on the 4016. Basically, we support 8 pages on a end user device. So since the 5032 is 2 pages, you can add 6 additional expansions, and likewise with the 1RU, you can add 7 different expansion panels. Now, this expansion panel is used on all of our products, not only the key panels, but things like PAP, which is our new IFB program routing panel, uses the exact same expansion panel. We simplified this by eliminating all of the custom or dedicated expansions. PAP had their own, KP32s had their own, and so we had about 6 different models of expansion. We've consolidated this. This single expansion panel will work on any KP series device or any derivative of the KP series. So a single expansion panel can be used for anything. You don't have to hunt for the magic specific panel anymore. Then we migrate into the low price point, or the simplified panel. Now this one is a little bit stripped down. This is for things like graphics or editing positions, where you have someone who's basically just going to use a handful of keys. They don't need aux inputs. They typically are never trying to navigate through a scroll list on a matrix. So we came up with a very simple, easy key panel, which is the 3016. Still has full color displays, has the same talk keys, but it does have a simplified keypad. Typically, the person operating at this station is not dealing with telephones, which is why we have a full alphanumeric keypad on the larger models. And if you look at the rear panel here, they typically aren't using aux connectors and all the other things either. So this is a very economy type panel, and it's basically had all of the bells and whistles taken out for applications that simply just don't need it. There is an OMNEO connection on this. You've got your expansion panel, same as you do if 16 keys aren't enough. Locking power connector. And so again, same interface. Menus are structured exactly the same. But it is just an economized panel from a connector standpoint and a little bit of the functionality of the keypad. Now, there is also what is referred to as the 3016A. The 3016A is an analog-only version, so that one does not support OMNEO at all. That is for markets outside the US where they just really don't have a lot of need for doing an IP-based solution. So we offer an analog only version of it. And these are for markets that are very price sensitive, where cost is a big driving factor. So there is a slimmed down, even more slimmed down version for those markets as well. Now, to fill out the last piece here, we also offer this in a desktop configuration in a wall mount, referred to as the DKP 4016. This is a desktop version. It's 16 keys, but because of the reduced footprint, we do 8 lower and 8 upper keys, just to keep it in a more compact form factor. As you can see on the back, it has full rear connector options as well. The only one that has been taken out is we limited it to a single aux connector, but you can still do a second aux via IP. But in analog aux, we reduced this down to 1. We just ran out of real estate on being able to fit it on the back panel, honestly. So now this has right and left headset connectors. One is a 4-pin, one is a 5-pin, again, to reduce skews and to make it easier for you as the end user to order. This actually comes with both a 4 and a 5-pin connector. And there is a locking power connector. And if you look at the analog matrix connection, that actually utilizes an Ethercon. For our wall mount version, when this gets mounted vertically on the wall, we actually put in these locking connections so the cables don't fall out. Also, in a desk environment, typically the cables are just dressed over the back of the desk. And if somebody's walking by and snags one or hooks onto one, we give it a bit more enforcement so that cables don't come out of the unit. So those two particular connectors we've actually added on with a locking mechanism. Again, on the back, we've got full OMNEO capability as well as analog for legacy frames. Again, two RJ45s and an SFP fiber for the actual OMNEO connections. And the desktop unit can actually be changed to be a wall mount. You simply take the bezel, unscrew it, and turn it 180 degrees and screw it back on. Yes, so the wall mount and desktop you can actually interchange just by changing the orientation of the top plate or the user work surface itself. Okay, the next piece we'll touch on here briefly is ROAMEO. For those of you who are not familiar with ROAMEO, ROAMEO is our DECT-based wireless key panel. It is not like our traditional BTR in that those were simple party line systems. ROAMEO actually is a fully functional wireless key panel. It is compatible with any of our OMNEO products, whether it be the Atom M, or ODIN. The connection to the access point, known as the AP1800, is OMNEO. From the access point to the Beltpack itself is DECT. We went with DECT because DECT is actually a protected spectrum for telephony devices. Right now there is no interest in it. That could change as more and more broadband applications go. But again, this one is so far protected globally for telephony devices. Now, we do offer this in two different configurations. We have a US frequency version, which supports 50 devices. We also have what is referred to as an EU or European Union version, as Europe supports actually 100 DECT channels within the same spectrum. They are shifted a little bit in frequency, so we do offer it in both US and European configurations, depending on which area that you utilize. Now, it is worldwide available with a few small exceptions. There's a few countries that have either variants of DECT, like Japan, or they've shifted frequency bands into areas where we don't actually have product offerings. But to my knowledge, so far I've only seen about 6 countries with that variation. But just so you know that, yeah, the US and the EU versions will cover about 95% of the global spectrum that's available. Now, for hardware of the Beltpack and the features, the Beltpack itself is ABS plastic, very rugged, very durable. On the front panel, we've got an on-off button on the bottom. We've got a color TFT display again. We do color on all of our intelligent devices. On each side of that TFT display are your menu navigation buttons. Then as we move up into the top work surface, you've got talk and listen buttons, and you've got 4 of those. So this is 4 discrete channels, but it also supports 4 pages. So you can have up to 16 different assignments on this key panel itself. There is a call waiting window with a reply and a clear key. Again, this is a wireless key panel. So we've ported over that function from our traditional key panels onto the ROAMEO as well. And then you have a volume control, which is an encoder, and you can actually depress the volume control for some other locally customizable features, things like what is referred to as dark mode. This is for theater applications, where in certain scenes they want all lighting on the stage to be completely squashed. So we actually support what is called dark mode, and you can enter and exit that mode via the tapping of the volume control. Now, as we migrate to the bottom part of the belt pack here, we have a few connector options. We've got the headset connector. Now, ROAMEO is only available in a 5-pin headset. If you do need 4-pin, you can get some simple inline adapters for those through Whirlwind and a few other companies. We also support a 3.5 millimeter connector. Now, this is a TRRS, so like iPhone type earbuds, things like that. So this is a tip double ring sleeve connection, can be utilized as a headset or can be used as a localized aux input to the belt pack itself. We have a power jack on the bottom. Now keep in mind, while the unit is charging, the unit is not operational. So if you need to do continuous operation, we do offer separate battery sled chargers, and you can just add or get additional batteries for it. But if you're charging via the unit itself, the unit is not operational during charge. Now, charge time on this is roughly 4 to 6 hours, depending on how drained your battery is, and you'll get roughly about 17 hours of talk time out of the battery. Now, the last connector on the back here is a USB port. That USB port is for software updates only. It does not support USB headsets. It will not charge your iPhone or whatever other thing you want to do with it. It is strictly for software updates. I went this route because doing updates via wireless, sometimes that can crash and then you end up bricking the unit. It seemed like a much easier and simpler idea just using a standard USB thumb drive, plug into it. The update time on this is literally less than 1 minute. It is incredibly fast. I do these all the time. And yeah, it's been very reliable. And again, primarily because doing updates via wireless, sometimes stuff happens and you've created a brick and then end up having to send it back to the factory. So localized updates only on the USB port. Now, as I mentioned, we are trying to move into icon-based menus. So some of the features that we have implemented into the ROAMEO software is to try and replicate or mimic key panel operation and again move into an icon-based menu structure. You can see along the top here on the home screen, you've got your traditional tiles like you see on key panels with a talk bar, a listen bar, supports 4, 6, or 8 character alphas just like the key panels do. Also gives you your Beltpack alpha as well as ID, and along the very bottom are all your status indicators. So it shows you battery life, also shows you screen indication, hot mic status, the connection to the matrix, your deck connection, also things like RSSI field strength. So, and then on the far right is the page number. So a lot of icon-driven menus just to make it simpler. Now in the main menu, we've carried on that icon-driven menu concept in that you've got a menu for audio setup, anything to do with the microphone, anything to do with the lights on the unit or displays, alerts, get into key assignments. Everything has an icon associated with it. And as we dig a little deeper into that as well, as you can see here on the bottom left, the alert screen, again, we have the icon for the battery. This is anything that you want to generate an alarm for. So you have your battery. You've got a indicator for when there's too many people on an access point. Also, if your deck signal is present or not, it will give you a warning indication, or if your OMNEO connection has gone away. So it will alert you and give you icons that will give you an indication of what exactly the problem is. Things like assignments you can do from the front panel, level adjusts. Under the level adjust menu, you've got the microphone gain, you've got your side tone gain, also Vox, and if you want hot mic. So we've tried to make these as easy to follow as possible, also to make it more internationally acceptable. As we're an American product line, not everybody speaks English as a primary language. So icons made more sense because that's where culture's evolving to, and it makes it easier for an international presence and makes it easier for end users to function with it. Then under advanced settings, we've got things like diagnostics, the little stethoscope. Also the update, as you can see, that is the world standard icon for USB, so it actually gives you an indication to plug in the USB connector. So again, just trying to make this more user-friendly, more modern, and easier to operate. So, okay, now the access point. This is the antenna for the DECT system. It is fully OMNEO based, can connect to the OMI card in an ATOM or ODIN system, and you can daisy chain the APs themselves. Now, the daisy chaining is for data only. This is powered by a DC power supply, or what we refer to as a wall wart. It does not accept PoE power. It is tolerant of PoE power, but it does not draw power from a PoE switch. We do provide some PoE injectors where you can feed power down the line and peel it off on the AP end. Those are available via the catalog as well. We offer adjustable antennas so you can optimize your coverage pattern. The antennas are on an SMA connector, and we do have a variety of mounting scenarios. The unit itself has several different holes and slots on it for things like Velcro straps, so being able to screw it to the wall, being able to screw it into traditional racks holes on any standard rack, as well as a pole mount kit that we sell from Manfrotto if you're just throwing up a temporary mast at a sporting event or concert or whatever. So we offer a variety of different mounting methods for this as well. Now, with the AP itself, a single AP will give you a relatively decent coverage area, roughly about 500 feet, which is, I'll guess, about 130 meters. And yes, on a single access point. Now, the access points are configurable. We have two different codecs which are supported. The first one is G722. In the G722 mode, this supports 5 Beltpacks per access point, and that gives you roughly 8 kilohertz frequency response. If you want increased capacity, you can use the G726, which gives you 4 kilohertz, but increases your capacity up to 10 Beltpacks per access point. So it's really a trade-off between audio fidelity and the capacity of users that you want on your system. So yeah, so each AP can be configured for either. Now this is a single AP scenario. Now if you have a very large facility, you can mount multiple access points, which gives you very large areas of coverage. And when you do this, you want to make sure that you have some overlap between these access points coverage areas so that you have seamless roaming. So as I go from one studio to the next, I don't disconnect, I don't have dropouts, I can just walk as needed to any area where I need coverage. Now we're adding some more tools into the software that will actually help you establish the overlapping coverage areas. But again, you can create very large coverage areas depending on what your needs are. Now, with the coverage areas, all of this in the devices themselves are configured with what is known as IP edit. On the very bottom, you'll see the DECT zone selection. This is where you actually can give a device the ability to go into different zones or create user constructed areas. So I could have a camera operator that's a member of a single zone, so his Beltpack only connects to the APs in that zone on that studio. But let's say a stage manager needs to walk between multiple studios, I can select multiple zones for that particular user. Each one of these columns is a single user. So you have the ability to define each person and what their access is throughout the network. One, because it reduces bandwidth. Two, it also keeps the number of users logged into an AP under control in case suddenly you have a mass of, say, 35 people show up in one studio. Only the ones that are permitted access onto those access points can actually connect, so that suddenly you don't have issues with people who are supposed to be in that area working. Suddenly the APs are full and they can't connect. So you can create levels of access restriction and control your actual deployment of the packs. So all of that is done within the AZ edit screen itself, or IP edit screen, sorry. Now, additionally, in the center there are the green blocks. These are the same as when you're setting up any type of IP device. They'll show you the connection status of the APs going back to the matrix. And then the lower set of blocks is actually the Beltpack status connected to the APs. So these will either be green, red, or gray if they're not configured. Just another indication or another tool to show you what is going on within the system itself. Now, this screen is showing the matrix end. The next screen is actually showing a 5-channel configuration. So this is if you're doing G722, as you can see in the Kodak box roughly in the middle, and the previous one was a 726 configuration. So again, being able to pick which Kodak you want to use and also construct and create the user zones themselves. Okay, so with that said, I'm going to move on to the on-air portion of this real quick. We've shortened the live section of it a little bit and gone with a bit more slides, as some of the video can be a little laggy due to 20 million kids being on online schooling and other factors. So yes, so what I want to show you here is just a few of the features of this and some of the colors and things that we have going on here. So I have the camera currently on the ODIN and the KP5032, and some of the features within the ODIN itself is you have the ability to turn the knob and change selections, and you can see the highlight menu, and I'm trying to go slow to compensate for lag time here, is that I have the ability to go into each menu by simply clicking that menu, and I can now look at the icons for things like the network settings, port settings, peripheral settings. So anything, like I said, about 95% of what you can do in AZ Edit, you can do from the front panel of the ODIN itself. Now, some of the other features you can utilize within this is if I click the left control encoder, I can get a status of every single key panel that is hooked to my device. I also can see that this ODIN is configured for 32 ports, which I have the first 8 configured for key panels, and then I have the 4 green boxes which I have configured for analog devices. So each connection type is represented by a color, and the little check on there'll be a check in the middle of the icon itself, which actually tells you the connection status. It tells you that there's actually a device connected there. If I click it one more time, I can now look at the connection statuses of all of my Ethernet connectors and my IFL. So I can tell here that I have a connection to the control port, which is AZ Edit. My RVON is red because I currently have no RVON devices connected to this, and my management is gray because I've not given it an IP address. So showing you just the 3 separate colors here and what they represent. Now I also have OMNEO status, the IFL status, which is the interframe link, so I can see which links are up and which are not. I also have alarms, so I can quickly look and see that I had 2 alarms, 0 of which are active currently, they've been resolved, and AZEdit and IPEdit connections. So if this will actually show you in real time how many connections are actually active on your device itself. So if you're seeing things change and you're not the one changing them, you can actually see if there are other users logged into the system and control that. Now, simply clicking it again takes you back to the main menu. And yes, as stated before, about 95% of what you can do in AZEdit, you can actually do through the front panel of the menu itself. Now, for the key panels here, I wanted to show you just the menus and the unification between the menus. As I go into the menu structure, I can go left and right on the arrows to navigate different menus, or I can use the encoder to actually navigate the menu. We did this as a legacy carryover because we had panels that worked with encoders and others that worked through menus. So we ported both in so that if you're used to encoder-driven devices, you can still do it with encoders, but you can also do menus. And we carried that across the entire line. So with these panels, everything works exactly the same. I'm going to go ahead and clear this. As you can see here, I have an icon that shows me that I'm connected via OMNEO. In certain cases, that would show an analog or an RVON icon. You have headset display statuses. As I select my different microphones, I can do headset only, or I can do headset and panel mic simply with the mic select switch. Now I'm going to move the camera over here to the 1RU. This will be a little choppy, sorry. My cameraman's on vacation. So this is the 1RU panel. The 1RU panel, exact same. I go into the menus. I have the exact same menus going across the top as I do with the 2RU panel. I can navigate again with arrows, or I can use the encoder. So the exact same user interface between all different devices. Now, same thing as we move to the KP3016, which is the unit on top here. Exact same, so I go to menus. Even though it has the reduced keypad, which you can see, it has the exact same menu structure, operates identical to the 2 previous units. Now the unit on the bottom here, I just wanted to show you real quickly. This is actually a push button version. Traditionally, our key panels are lever key. Recently, we came out with push button versions because certain markets and certain applications are more desirable for a push button feature. So these panels, both the 1RU and 2RU, are available in a push button version as well. So it just depends again on what you're used to and what you prefer as your menu or your navigation, whether you want lever keys or push buttons. These will vary between country to country as to what people are used to and what they like to see. Now, the next piece I would like to just show you briefly here is the ROAMEO Beltpack itself. So this is the front of the ROAMEO Beltpack, or whatever referred to as the top work surface. You have the red and green color indicators for talk and listen, exact same as if you're on a key panel themselves. I have the ability to talk to the device, and let's see, this is number 7, so If I go to 7, you can see the call waiting window has now lit up. I can either reply to that call, or I can go ahead and clear that call. So again, similar operation to the key panel. You've got your volume control here, which will actually show you on the top display, since you're looking down at it and not looking at the side, will actually show you the volume control relative to what you're doing at the time. Now, on the front side of the menu, again, you've got your full color tiles, just like you do with a key panel. Gives you your indicators along the bottom for battery life, which this is at 77%. Your OMNEO and DECT connections, and your RSSI strength, or your strength to the AP itself. Now, again here, you can see the talk and listen indicators. Same as a key panel. And if I want, I can actually do page changes, which you'll see the icon on the right-hand side. There is actually a unique function on the bottom where I can flip the display. And the reason for that is if you're wearing this on your belt pack and you tip it up, all of the alphas and all of the information is upside down. So if you put it in this mode, when you tip it upwards, now all the menus and everything are actually orientated properly for when you're actually looking at it. So if you just navigate to that, you can simply flip the display and rotate it 180 degrees. Okay, so with that said, I am going to flip back here to the presentation. And yes, so if there are any questions on any of the 3 blocks of material that I just discussed, we'll go ahead and we'll open the question section up.
And Sean, the answer to that is, are there questions? Yes, I suggest finding a comfortable chair. It will be
Yeah, sorry, I can't see
people.
the questions box while I'm doing the display.
Well, that's why you have me here, so that I can ask some of the questions and run them out to you. So at this point, the first question is, can I have communication between the GPIO 16 and ODIN through the control port?
No, the GPIO 16 connects to the Ethernet port for the peripherals only.
Okay. And there, on the RVON example that you had early on in the presentation, the question is, what's the DB9-RJ45 cable doing in the RVON example?
Because I had to do a last-minute change and pull the RVON IO out of that. It was a slide that obviously I missed one piece of text. That was
okay.
that was a cleanup effort, and apparently I missed something.
Okay. So the next question is, are SFP issues included in the alarms menu?
Oh, yes, yes. All input-output connections, yes. And it'll actually give you status indication on the SFPs, things like temperature and other things with the SFPs themselves.
Wonderful. Next, will we be able to connect RVON KP series panel via VSAT?
Yes, depending on the up, down, and downtime. Well, actually, no, the RVON doesn't care. You can have this on a turtle version of satellite. RVON doesn't care. RVON will deal with the latency. RVON audio, yeah, it can vary depending on your connection, but yeah, it can be. You can put RVON through satellite very easily. I would suggest using the lowest codec you can because of bandwidth, typically on satellites. But yeah, you can deploy RVON on satellite.
Thank you. It says, is serial pass-through trunking possible with ODIN?
Via the RVON, no, it is not. Via the ODIN, yeah. ODIN only supports the Ethernet trunking and the trunking from, and I'm guessing this is for remote applications where ODIN would be the hub system. Yeah, you would have to bring those in through Ethernet trunking. The ODIN itself does not support a connector to peel off that data on a DB9 like the traditional RVON card.
Okay, thank you. IFL issues, are these shown in the alarms?
Yes, they are.
Perfect. Okay. Next question. Is there any plan to have a hardwired Beltpack form factor panel, like a cross between ROAMEO and BP325, or in some digital Beltpack that can compete with HelixNet?
There is some stuff in the works that we are looking into. I don't want to reveal too much.
Right. Okay. It says
Wait,
to connect.
wait for it would be my best answer.
Okay. To connect multiple ODINs, do we need dedicated fiber network, or existing fiber network also can be used?
Typically, this would be dark fiber because it's a point-to-point connection. It depends on how your existing fiber network is set up, but typically this is a point-to-point, or what some people refer to as dark fiber.
Okay. And the next is more of a comment. They state that they need a weatherproof AP1800 with onboard PoE with no splitter needed. So just a point of reference.
Yeah, yes, yeah. That is a commonly asked for request. It's something that we are looking into.
Okay.
Yeah, right now I can only refer like NEMA type waterproof boxes. Yes, but it is something that we are reviewing and we're looking at seriously.
Okay. Do the external mic and line out connections work as local four-wired interface if you want to pipe intercom in and out of an audio console?
Yes, you would use one of the aux connections and then the mic out. Yeah, you could do kind of a pseudo four-wire to the console in that configuration, correct.
Okay. Next question is it possible to use another 5032 as an expansion panel?
No.
Didn't think so. Okay.
Oh.
The other thing is that it was not brought up during the conversation here, but someone did mention that it would be worth mentioning the A and C license options that are available with the OMNEO products. So if you could just chat about that for a second, Sean.
Okay, 1 second.
Yep, the audio and control stuff.
Yep. Okay, yes. You would be talking about these. Let me back that up. Come on, focus. Yeah, next to this OMNEO icon here are two little icons for A and C. And what those are is we do have two software packages that are upgrades to this. And what they are is one is the audio package, which gives you a larger complement of equalization. Also gives you what is referred to as record capability. So I can do what is referred to as AFK, and in this case it's away from key panel, not away from keyboard. And it actually, you can leave voicemail to an individual user at a panel. There's a few extra things like a larger range of audio compression that's available in the audio package as well. And then we have the control package. Now, the control package allows you to do a number of things in that it supports what's called supervisor mode. So myself, as say I'm the audio maintenance engineer, and I have a director that's stating that he can't get something to work or he's hearing something. Supervisor mode allows you to actually clone that panel. So I can listen and I can see everything in real time parallel to that director station. So I hear everything he's hearing, and if I hit a button on my panel, that same button turns on his panel. It's a complete clone, and it's what we call republishing of audio. That's available with the supervisor mode, and that's a big feature within the control package. So now I don't have to run to the control room. All I have to do is know what his port number is, and I can clone his panel and see everything and hear everything he's seeing. There's a couple of other things within the control package. There is the ability to save all of the local configuration, like my DSP mixes, my aux settings, And in AZ Edit, I can actually save now what is called a key panel configuration. So all of that local setting you do from the keypad menu, I can save to a file. Now I can turn around and I can push that out to other key panels. So if I want 200 panels to all be configured identically, I set up the first one, and as long as I have the control feature on all the others, I can push that file out and configure the other 199 panels in like 2 minutes.
Terrific. The question here is, does KP3016 also have two OMNEO/RVON channels? If yes, how can we take out the audio?
The 3016, yes, it has a secondary RVON channel on it. It is strictly for stereo applications because the 3016s don't have the rear connectors. So you could have the primary channel in your left ear, you could have that secondary channel in your right ear. There's no ability to peel it out of a 3016. You would have to move to a 4016 or a 5032 to peel that out via the aux or additional connectors.
Thank you. The next question is, can the two OMNEO ports act as two separate NICs for primary, secondary, redundant mode, or just switched mode?
Yeah, right now they support RSTP. Coming up here later in the year, we will actually have it set up for 2022-7, which is a primary and a secondary network. And those will have unique IP addresses and MAC addresses for each connector. Yeah, it's part of the, as we fully embrace the 2110 standard, 2022-7 we will progress, and the hardware will support that a little later in the year.
Great. A question concerning the 3.5 millimeter aux input on the ROAMEO Beltpack. Does it take stereo input like a feed from an IEM pack?
No, ours is a mono connection. Yeah, it is not a stereo connection.
Okay. Now, this next one is kind of a two-part. It says, does glitch-free mean just utilizing failover to the secondary network? The person says, I do realize OMNEO is Dante plus OCA, trying to establish whether the second port on the key panels can be used for OMNEO secondary network or not.
Yes, the way that it is currently configured is the ODIN itself does have glitch-free support, and that is a primary and a secondary network. What it is intended for currently is, say, if your Yamaha console or solid-state logic also has primary and secondary network, that you are fully compatible. So if there is an issue and it flips over, you're still getting your mixing console into the ODIN. Now, with that said, the ODINs can be configured differently. If you have, say, 3 ODINs, I can have the first ODIN set up for glitch-free, and the second and third ODINs running in normal mode. You can mix and match these, and they're all working seamlessly as one intercom, but you can set up particular parts of that intercom as glitch-free or not. Now, when we talk a little bit about glitch-free is an audio standard, same as 2022-7. The one thing they forgot about is some people use data. The unique thing that we will incorporate when we fully implement the 2022-7 is not only will we have a primary and secondary audio-wise, but we will also have primary and secondary for things like key panel data. So it's a true redundant connection. So if your primary network takes a massive hit, everything will go over to the secondary. You will still maintain key panel data as well as audio. It's an enhancement we've done kind of above and beyond what the 2022-7 actually calls out.
Great. Is there any way that we can connect one key panel to connect with 2 OMI cards for redundancy?
You can, yes and no. You can take OMNEO channels from 2 different OMI cards and point them at the same key panel. Now, at the key panel end, if you go to, in the main screen, there's the menu item called OMNEO Offers, and actually, since I still have the video up, Yeah, under this menu item here called OMNEO Offer, whoops, one too many. Under OMNEO Offers, I can look at every OMNEO device that is broadcasting a potential connection to this key panel. So if my first OMNEO connection went away, I could go here and I could grab that OMNEO channel from the secondary card. It is not automated. But you can point two channels at a device and you can select whether it's connecting to which one it connects to. Yes, so that is available right now, but it is not an automated feature. We've seen some potential risks to automating that, like if you had, say, a temporary network hiccup, and it suddenly switched over and then came back, things get kind of messy there. So we made it a manual function rather than automated.
Very good. Question is concerning the antennas on the access point. Are they configured as one transmit, one receive, or as multiple access? The question really is, if I replace them with LPDA, can I aim them in opposite directions to increase coverage area?
I need to get back to you on that one. That's the first time in a long time I've been stumped on one. I don't know exactly. I have to check into that one.
Okay, very good. So if you want on one port selection for port allocation, one of the ports, I'll have to reread this. Excuse me, if question is a bit confusing for me. Sorry. If you want on one port select in port allocation, one of the ports, nah, sorry,
Yeah,
I can't get through this one.
I think Nico was answering a previous question.
Okay.
Doug.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Okay.
Sifting through them here.
Is Beltpack able to choose its role specifically for a sound assistant, or is it fixed to the serial number?
The Beltpack itself is assigned to a port, so it's whatever configuration is on that port itself. Yeah, the core of the system is a port by port system. It is not based on roles or yeah, so it would be whatever that port is configured to is the alphas and things that it would be assigned.
Very good. And now I'm just looking back to see if there are any more questions online that we haven't hit that haven't been answered by Nico or someone else. There are just three physical, maybe. Somebody wanted just a quick explanation of what OMNEO actually means, you know, what it is. You sort of hit it with Dante and OCA, but if you can do a little more.
Yeah, basically what OMNEO is OMNEO was something that Bosch took on as a technology initiative 6-ish, 7-ish years ago. And yeah, what it is basically is the goal is we wanted high fidelity IP-based audio. And we looked at several different technologies out there, and we realized that the missing component, although the audio was fully uncompressed, 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz, the missing component was the control, things like discovery services, and really the guts on how to interconnect these devices, remember the devices, things like that. And that's where what is referred to as OCA came about, and the two of those combined is what created OMNEO. So OMNEO is really Dante audio, but with all of the control, discovery services, directory services on top of it, which is really what was the missing part of that. With traditional Dante, you're using things like Dante controller to do the routing. If your network takes a hiccup, unless Dante controller is still active, you lose your routes. What OMNEO brings to the table is we maintain directories and things like that. So upon having the network come back up, the devices themselves reestablish their routes. Because they knew what it was. So that's why I referred to it much earlier on as kind of Dante on steroids. We took and added a lot of control, discovery, and other things on top of just the core platform of Dante.
Thank you. There's another question. It says, does supervisor mode work over RVON?
Yeah, supervisor mode. Yeah, you could do it on RVON as well. Yes.
Okay, terrific. Uh, let me see. If you decide to use 2 auxes, then 6 OMNEO to use. Always OMNEO 1 is for matrix, not as an additional port. I'm not sure
Yeah.
I'm clear.
Well, with the OMNEO, yeah, the OMNEO is always is always its own channel. The auxes are not part of that first 2 channels. Those are intercom channels. The auxes are separate inputs that are unique to the key panel itself. Now, this actually just sparked another memory. One of the other features in the audio package, which I talked about, the upgrade package, is you can add 6 additional auxes via IP. Now, those auxes are all discrete and they're separate from the 2 intercom channels, so those don't take away from those channels. So you have 2 intercom channels, and then you have the ability to have up to 8 auxes on top of those, which are local to the panel. And you also have the ability, if you want, that you could take those auxes coming into the panel and spin those back into the matrix. So you could do, say, if you have a remote somewhere, and you could take the reporter microphone, bring it in the aux, and send that back down the OMNEO channel to your actual facility.
Okay, this next one, this might be from my old days, even putting in a small hand to slap somebody. The question is there any way to get acknowledgement whether the person on the other side is there or not? That would be the hand.
Well, you know that the key panel's there and alive. As far as the person in front of the key panel, I deny all responsibility for them.
Yeah, I would think
I don't
that
know.
best...
Yeah, I mean, I can tell that the device is alive. I can actually see its key statuses within AZ Edit. If the guy isn't smart enough to figure out how to turn his key on, I can do that for him from AZ Edit. But I can't tell if there's a physical body in front of it.
Okay. Here's another one. It's about if you have a second ODIN as a redundant master controller, it loses all its features as a matrix question mark.
Well, with the redundancy topic, right now we are going to implement redundancy in ODIN a little later in the year, and actually the ODIN will act as a complete mirror of the unit that it is backing up. Essentially, it until it goes active, it's kind of probably the best way to describe it is tri-stated. It has all the information, but it's not active on the network until it's told to go active.
Okay. Here's a question that they're wondering in the ROAMEO vein. Are there any plans for a 5 gigahertz based ROAMEO?
I'll have to get back to you on that. I'm not in a position to discuss roadmap stuff at the moment.
Okay. Let me see. I believe that we have now hit the end of those questions, and my apologies if I missed somebody, but I tried to be very careful about all of this. And with Sean being done with his section, and thank you again for all the questions, please remember that you can go off to YouTube after this is done and get this entire session and play it back again and get all of the answers. And we will give you information at the end of the presentation how to get in touch with us. So if any questions were not answered, please use that information to get to us. Now I would like to introduce Greg Campagnon. He's the North American Sales Director for RTS and Telex Radio Dispatch. Greg?
I'll hand over to Greg.
Great, thanks guys. And we realized this went over the allotted hour today, and I want to thank everyone for staying on up to this point. This was a lot of content today, and I want to thank Sean Anderson for the presentation on this highly popular topic of the ODIN product, the key panels and the ROAMEO. What we're going to do next is actually talk about two topics that we talked about already on Monday and Tuesday, the company profile and the RTS training platform that's new for 2020. So if you have sat through that already, please know that you can jump off if you don't want to go through it again. But for those who have not been through it, please stay on. It will be probably another 15 minutes. and we would like to go through that with you now. So again, on behalf of everyone at RTS, we want to thank everyone for their time today, and sorry we couldn't see you in Las Vegas during this global emergency of COVID. We hope everyone is safe, and we want everyone to know that RTS is here for you. Some of the little information about RTS Intercoms, if you did not know, we have been in business for 45 years. We were founded in 1975 as a broadcast communications supplier. Did you know that RTS is part of a bigger company, our parent company, Robert Bosch Global? This is the same Bosch that you've come to know for automotive parts, household appliances, and power tools. We have over 280 manufacturing sites across the world, and it's a privately held entity that invests much of its profits back into engineering and development. RTS, along with our sister brands, Electro-Voice and Dynacord, when we include the brands with the Bosch video security systems, we all make up what is known as Business Technologies or Building Technologies of North America. Specifically, RTS Intercoms, we have the world headquarters in Burnsville, Minnesota, and in addition to that, our manufacturing plants span the globe in Zhuhai, China, Ovar, Portugal, Hermosillo, Mexico, and Lincoln, Nebraska here in the States. As you can see from the chart here, our engineering staff, our sales staff, and our after-sales support has an extensive tenure in their careers here at RTS. Many of them span between 15 and 25 years apiece. All regional sales are managed throughout the U.S. in remote RTS offices in major U.S. markets such as Los Angeles, Metro New York, Chicago, Washington, D.C., and Dallas, Texas. And all of our inventory comes out of 2 warehouses in North America located in Greer, South Carolina, and Lincoln, Nebraska. RTS is proud to have supported major broadcasters over the years, but we just don't stop at broadcast. RTS Intercoms is an integral part in critical communications at many industrial power plants, hospitals, houses of worship, and even space exploration facilities. Over the years, we have won various awards for outstanding achievement in engineering and development as well. So whatever the application is, RTS has a communication solution for you. So why do business with RTS Intercoms? Some advantages that we have: we are the main intercom system provider for 90% of North America major networks and broadcast trucks. We have thousands and thousands of RTS key panels across North America, so we have a lot of systems that connect to each other, and the users find that having the same key panels, it's a very familiar setting for them. The new digital ODIN that Sean talked about today, we introduced it 2 years ago, and it is the only frame, the only intercom frame in the industry that can go up to 1,024 ports when you cascade them together. The SMPTE 2110 standard is a standard that we have in our RTS products. We have implemented systems across the world, such as CNN Hudson Yards in New York City and NEP in Australia. I mentioned already that the average intercom experience for our staff is between 15 and 20 years. And we've had 0 major system failures globally within the 45 years we've been in business. So we're all living in this COVID-19 climate right now. Many companies out there are experiencing supply chain delays and disruptions, some of them from days, some of them to many weeks. But because we're part of Bosch, we are a globally operating company, and we have manufacturing facilities across the world, as I mentioned already. We have a dual source strategy where we have inventory in multiple spots across the globe. And we have a high safety stock at any given time, so that we've really seen no interruption in our supply chain here at RTS Intercoms. When we saw this epidemic happen in China at the end of last year, we put a COVID-19 task force in place in January so that we would be prepared when it spanned across the globe and hit us in January in the United States. Specifically, one of the products that we have in RTS is the V-Link software product. This basically is a virtual key panel that allows the user to put a key panel on a smart device and connect back to a frame at a broadcast facility. So a lot of people can work from home. Directors, producers can actually call the show from their homes using the V-Link product. The good thing is we have a session tomorrow, Thursday, 2 o'clock Eastern time, same time as today, that we will be going through the V-Link product, and Sean will actually do a demo for us on the product. And here's a menu of what we went through this week. We couldn't see you at NAB this year, but our RTS Spring Showcase, we had sessions on our wireless product on Monday. Ethan Wetzel, our RTS platform strategist, did a presentation on standards yesterday. We did the ODIN today. V-Link will be tomorrow. And all of these sessions will be recorded and put up on YouTube for you so that we can look at them later and take a look at what you may have missed and you hadn't registered for. So with that, I'm going to hand it off to Amari Ramos. He's our Global Training and Knowledge Manager. He is going to introduce a new training platform that we have for RTS, and this will be an extensive online platform that you can continue your knowledge for RTS products. So Amari, it's all yours.
Okay, thank you, Greg. Well, I hope everybody is safe and healthy right now in this COVID-19 situation. And I would like to talk about training now. So mainly, we have two different types of training. The first type of training is our certified training. So we have three different levels for certified trainings. We have professional, expert, and master. Professional and expert levels, they are online, free of charge, and available in our LMS. The master level is the face-to-face training we have with all the immersive experience and hands-on on our equipment. All these trainings, they issue official certificates. And the two first level, again, professional and expert, they are free of charge. So the second type of training are the self-guided trainings. So we have how-to and tutorial videos, which we are developing right now. They will be available in our website, in our LMS, and also in our YouTube channel. The other thing we are doing right now are the live webinars, just like this one, that we are recording, and we will publish this live webinar as a recorded webinar in our channels. Moving forward, I would like to present to you what we launched this week, which is the first level, the professional level of our training. So this professional level is just like a presentation or introduction to our Intercom full range training. So here you have a lot of different modules that will guide you to this content, and then at the end you have an online exam. When you pass the online exam, you receive an official RTS certificate. This training is built for 3 hours. And then the next one, which we have available right now, but unfortunately we can't offer to you because we are in this COVID-19 situation right now. But as soon as we have our, the ability to do this back, we will start to offer the master level. So this is the face-to-face training. This is the immersive experience you can have putting your hands on the equipment to know how to commission a system. And this is a 2.5-day training. After you do the training, you also have an online exam, which will issue an official RTS certificate for you. So I would like to highlight some of the online modules we have, because we have different online modules, not only this certification you have in front of you. And these online modules, they are available in our LMS, our Learning Management System. It's really easy to get it. So you go to rtsintercoms.com/academy. Then you can create your free account today. Just go there. If you don't have it, just create your free account and you have access to all our online training materials free of charge, 24 hours per day, 7 days per week. So just now, touching or highlighting some of the online materials we have. The first one is the RTS Intercom Basics. So this is only an introduction about what Intercom is using our systems. Then the second one we have is about our RTS product portfolio. That's an introduction and that's a presentation, an interactive web material about our products, about our portfolio. The next one is about ROAMEO, which we saw today, and you will have the chance to interact with a unit. We have a simulation in the screen that you can click through the simulation and you can then check how does it work. How does this Beltpack work in the DECT system? Really good material. The next one is ODIN, also discussed today, presented by Sean. And this is also, we have this simulation that you can work with this front panel, and you can check some of the options. You will be guided through this front panel in this training. The next training we have is about IP. So IP networking, basic setup technology and terminology. Nowadays, this is a more and more common ground that we need to cover, and we have a really good material for that. Also covering OMNEO, which we discussed today, presenting OMNEO, overview, positioning, and tools. The last material I would like to highlight here is about AZ-Edit, our configuration software that you can use for all our digital matrix intercoms, for all RTS digital matrix intercom. This software, we have this material about it. We have step-by-step how to do some of their actions and then to give you more knowledge about it. Well, and about the training, that's all for now. Again, I would like to invite you to go to rtsintercoms.com/academy, go to our LMS and create your account. Thank you.
Thank you, Mari. And one quick question that we have concerning the training. Is there a need to download anything to go through the web-based training that you are showing on the LMS?
Okay, that's a really good question, because the idea behind the LMS is that you can access the LMS with only your browser. That's the only piece of software you need. So you can have the Google Chrome, Mozilla Firefox, you can have the new Microsoft Edge or Internet Explorer. All these browsers are the only thing you need to go through all our online materials. No, there's no need to install any other software.
Terrific. Thank you, Amaury. And
thank you.
As we're heading toward our wrap-up now, we want to, again, thank you for showing up for this presentation for our 2020 Spring Showcase. This is day 3 of this. And if you would please notice on this slide, if you need to talk to us, please reach us at the presales.support@us.bosch.com. As well, we would appreciate it if you would follow us on any of the social media platforms that we have listed above. We do look at those frequently, we keep track of them, and we really would appreciate your involvement with us, and then that gets an opportunity for us to come communicate back with you on a regular basis. Tomorrow, we would hope that you would join us for Sean Anderson again, and that will be talking about V-Link, and that is the tool to enable remote production during this difficult time that we are all having. So again, thank you for all of your time, and we hope to see you tomorrow. And that is the end of our presentation for today. So thank you very much. Have a good day.